I'm Wendy. I'm a manager of the residential services for West Lothian Council. What does it mean to do your 10 times table or your 8 times table or your 9 times table when your mother's in prison and you don't know where your big brother and your big sister are, and that you're absolutely terrified about what your future is? And for a number of other young people that come into residential care particularly, it does mean that they have experienced multiple placement moves before they come into residential care. And that does mean that the things that are important to them is, where is their mum? Where is their dad? Where are their big sisters? For them, learning isn't as important as learning might be for their peers. Who does their homework with them when they come home from school? Who's interested if they've got homework? Sometimes for these young people, living in a family home or having lived in their own family home is at night time not about doing homework, but experiencing and listening to domestic violence, is about having a parent who's so under the influence of substances that they're unable even to make sure that they get into their bed at night, let alone do their homework. For children like that, how can they possibly be in a place that they can even think about reading, writing and their times tables? Learning for these children can quite often be about survival. And when they come into our care, that has been their experiences. They're scared of the adults in their life, they're worried about their future, and for far, far, far too many, they have no hope for their own future. People that are not in the care system and work with these kids have no idea the enormity of the experiences of these young people, and no wonder they don't attain at school, because what do we expect when their life has been the way that it is? And I think that's the bit for me, when you have the 14-year-old girl who's coming into a care home setting, who's struggling to go to school, who self-harms because she feels so bad about her own life, who can say to a member of staff, all I want is a mum that can put their arms around me and love me and care for me, but the knowledge that her mum is dead, and they will never do that. How can that young woman possibly think about standard grades and about future when that is our current reality? For many of these young people, the reality of their young lives has been so harsh that many adults will never experience that in their entire life. The level of loss, abandonment, loneliness, these are the realities, and therefore that means that education in its sense of learning within the school environments becomes fairly meaningless. But what they do need is people to have hope for these young people, for people to actually believe that they can achieve, to have expectations and aspirations for our young people. And one of the things for me is that often children and young people do succeed because somebody out there is crazy about them. Somebody out there believes in them. That figure is often represented by a mum or a dad or an auntie or an uncle or a granny, and we've all had that adult in our lives that have helped us and encouraged us. Who do our young people have? For far too many, they don't have anybody, and I think that's why they become quite lost within the education system. And sometimes it takes one adult actually thinking, I do have high expectations for you, I do believe you can achieve. And when you have that, and somebody comes alongside in the role as a mentor, in the role as a supporter, that can be so meaningful for that young person who actually is sitting in a life and in a world where they feel that they don't have anybody.